There's a lot of people moving to the Treasure Valley, and a lot of people don't want to live in the big capital city. So in this video, I want to share with you 5 things that might make Nampa an attractive place to live, and 4 things that maybe could use some improvement. And we'll start with the less desirable things. Number 1, Nampa does feel a bit industrial. There's a number of factories in the city. The largest one is the one behind me here. It's the Nampa Sugar Factory. It's also called the Amalgamated Sugar Factory. It's been around since 1906. It popped around in several locations, but it's been in this location here since 1942. It's a huge factory. There's 1,700 employees. There's different campuses in Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. And it's actually the second largest manufacturer of sugar beets in the United States. They process sugar beets 11 months out of the year. So because there are a number of factories in the city, like Amcor, Seneca Seeds, and a bunch of other factories, it can be a bit of an eyesore in the city, especially if you're traveling on I-84 heading west out towards Caldwell. It feels a bit more industrial than Boise does in general. And also contributing to the city's kind of industrial feel is the railroad, which came into town in the 1880s. When it came here, it connected Wyoming to Oregon, and Nampa is actually one of Union Pacific's 2 major hubs here in Idaho. There's about 850 miles of track here in the state, but because Nampa is one of several major hubs in the state, you can expect to hear some noise in the city, especially if your house is near the tracks. Number 2, this city does sometimes have a less than desirable smell. Now, some of that comes from the sugar beet factory that I mentioned earlier, and it certainly is an active factory. They process 1.6 billion pounds of sugar per year, 2 million pounds per day. And that process puts off sort of this sweet, pungent smell. Some people say that it smells like burnt Reese's peanut butter cup. Others say it has more of a musty, steamed broccoli smell. Either way, it definitely has a distinct smell. And so I guess if you want to put something sweet in your coffee, you kind of got to pay for it. Another culprit for the smell are the fields. At certain times of the year, the farmers spray manure to fertilize them. So at those times of the year, it definitely smells like a farming community here. 3, crime is slightly higher here in Nampa than it is in Boise. According to the alarms.org website, Nampa was ranked number 12th for crime in the entire state out of all the other cities. In 2020, there were 268 incidents of violent crime here in the city and about 2,400 incidents of property crime. And when you average both of those together, that makes about 28 incidents per 1,000. Across all of Canyon County, though, drug use was down 5% this year, and burglary was down 11% across the county. And by contrast, Boise was ranked the 9th safest city in the state with about 23 incidents of crime per 1,000. And Meridian was ranked the 2nd safest city with about 13 incidents of crime per 1,000. Finally, some of the schools in Nampa scored below average according to the greatschools.org website. Nampa has 3 high schools. Columbia High School and Nampa High School both scored 3 out of 10 overall. And on average, their SAT average is about 907, which is under the state average of 988. The school behind me here, Skyview, scored higher. They got a 5 out of 10 overall with an 88% graduation rate and a 962 SAT average, which is still just under the state average of 988. And according to greatschools.org, some of the subjects that they need a little bit of work on is English proficiency and math. Okay, let me talk about some of the positive things about living in Nampa. But first, here's 20 seconds of me getting tongue-tied. I don't want to talk about 4. So by contrast, I was out looking for where the next and one of the things that I like about this, and what I really like about it here, on the positive side, Nampa has everything that you need. Right now I'm at the Karcher exit, which is just to the northwest of Nampa. And like you see behind me here, there's a big Edward Cinema, but there's also every other store that you need here. There's a big Costco, Winco, Home Depot, Lowe's, Sportsman Warehouse, a whole bunch of restaurants. Everything that you need is here in Nampa. So it's quite convenient. You don't have to live in the big city, in the capital city, in order to enjoy the convenience of the big city. 2, the house prices are cheaper here. Last month, the median price was $420,000 and the average was $430,000. In Boise, on the other hand, the median price was $483, so 60-some thousand more, and the average was $540,000. I was out looking at homes for clients of mine recently, and they were really struck at the price difference in homes here versus those in Meridian and Boise. They ended up getting a really nice home for $505, but we were looking at comparable homes in Boise, in Meridian, for $50,000 or $70,000 more. So overall, you do get a bit more bang for your buck here. Another thing that I've noticed is it is a bit more common to find larger lots here, like a quarter acre, half acre. The houses that are in the brand new subdivisions, those typically have, 0.15, 0.18 acres. But for homes that are 15, 20 years old, it's a bit more common to find larger lots. Now, I don't actually live in Nampa, so I called up some friends that do live here and asked them what they like about living in this city. And one of the things that they said is they love the whole network of pedestrian parks and pathways. There's actually 28 parks in Nampa and 14 miles of pedestrian pathways. I'm at Lakeview Park right now, and like you can see behind me, there's actually a swimming pool here with some water slides. The city also has 2 9-hole frisbee golf courses. There's also a number of pickleball courts. There's some golf courses. You can actually download a map of all the parks, all the pedestrian and bike pathways in the city. I'll put the link down in the description box below. Another thing that some of my friends said that they liked about living in Nampa is that there is a lot of open space around you. If you just look at a map, you can see that there's a lot of fields to the north, to the south, and in fact, all around Nampa. So it's not uncommon to find a neighborhood like this where you just on the other side of the street, you see open fields. I lived in North Boise for a while, and one of the things that I didn't like about living there was that I just felt kind of claustrophobic. Now, I was in the city, and I expected that, but at least living in Nampa, you can walk just 5 minutes or drive a couple minutes, and within a very short period of time, you're out in the fields, and you don't feel like you're downtown in the hustle and bustle. So overall, in Nampa, there's a bit more elbow room than there is in Boise or in Meridian. Finally, another perk to living in Nampa is definitely its proximity to Lake Lowell. Now, this is a great little lake. There's motorized boating here from April 15th through September 30th. There's a park with restrooms, frisbee golf. You can go swimming here. There's even a spot that is wheelchair accessible and it has barbecue grills. And on top of all that, you don't gotta pay for parking. So that's Nampa. Now, I have a bunch of other videos coming up on the Treasure Valley, so be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell so that you don't miss them. But if you want to see what other cities are like Boise, Meridian, or Star, click into these videos right here.